He can sing, act, and most importantly, make us laugh. Known as Cedric the Entertainer, he has regaled audiences across the world with spirit and humor. Barbershop, Son of the South, Neighborhood, Unfrosted, and is now enshrined on Hollywood's Walk of Fame. Cedric is also knee-deep in new business ventures from food to wine and has clearly defined views on the state of the nation and those who lead it. Not surprisingly, people are listening. From Ballard Studios in West Hollywood, another special edition of 13th and Park.
We give you information, not a panic attack.
I mean, look what's going on. I mean, my God.
This was it. The kids were gonna die.
That time is gone forever.
This is the biggest story in America.
We weren't prepared for this.
Don't you want to speak truth to power?
Toughest thing I ever had to do.
Welcome everybody to 13th and Park in Hollywood, California. This is going to be a lot of fun because we got in the studio today the great Mr. Cedric the Entertainer. Do we call you Mr. Cedric, Mr. Entertainer? Which one do you prefer?
I go by all of those.
Okay.
But you just call me Cedric right now. Okay. I'm amongst friends and peers.
We're amongst friends.
Colleagues.
That's right. Speaking of friends, we have the great Neville Boston, Mr. Tech Entrepreneur. I'm very proud to have a friendship with you, Neville, and all the great work you're doing to disrupt the automobile license industry. One of the things that's always fun to watch is when you have folks who've established themselves in an industry like you have, Cedric, in a big way. Like you are literally, talked about amongst the GOATs for sure. I mean, in terms of acting and television and obviously comedy.
No, and singing. Yeah, he sings too. Yeah.
And he sings.
You can't forget about that.
Whoa,
yeah,
I was
at his show. I haven't heard that recording yet.
I
He
don't
can
have
sing
the
too.
album yet.
Yeah.
You'll be like one of those folks who get the Oscar, the Emmy, and the Grammy.
They call it the EGOT.
The EGOT.
Yeah, you get the EGOT. Yeah.
He got the EGOT. I like that.
You can get all of that.
What are you working on right now, Cedric?
Oh man,
curious to hear what you're doing now.
I'm so blessed, man. So many things going on right now, but we are actually going into the 7th season of my show, The Neighborhood, on CBS. Opened a residency in Vegas with the legendary Tony Braxton.
Amazing.
Man, I gotta see
It's
that.
a crazy show, man.
Stop right there, because that's insane. Tell me how that show flows. I haven't seen it yet. I haven't seen any of the, like, what's the concept there?
So
what are you guys
it's
doing?
real fun. Tony and I have been friends for a while. And so, when the idea came together, I didn't want to do a show where it was like, hey, I'm going to walk out and do stand-up and then you're going to sing. And so we end up kind of creating this Sonny and Cher kind of energy, man.
Wow.
It's like Donnie and Marie. So we come out on stage together, big energy. And then I introduce her, and then she goes right into some of her big hits. And she does about 14, 15-minute set of some cool songs that everybody loves.
Right.
And then she introduces me, and I come out and I do like a 30-minute set right there.
So do you do stand-up?
I do stand-up.
And do
in
you
the show.
sing?
And then I sing in the show.
You gotta
in the
interject
shows.
some songs in there. Oh,
yeah,
man.
yeah.
Oh,
like
I love it.
late in the show, I do a tribute. I love this song, "Nature Boy" by Nat King Cole.
Yep. Right.
So we do it with as a really big performance piece, and I have dancers, and I vocalize the song, and it's like a beautiful moment, man. So then we play some games with the audience. We do like a Soul Train thing in the middle of the show.
Soul Train, listen, the Soul Train thing was incredible.
Oh, thank you, man.
Don Cornelius never asked questions.
He
makes statements and leans forward.
I always trip out. Don Cornelius never asked a question. He would just always be like, "So you got a podcast?" Like, yes, yes,
Is there a question in your future?
And you're asking questions.
Yeah, right.
And he would do that to all his guests and be like, "Here, give it up for the mighty Neville Boston."
Oh my goodness.
Both of us really love this idea, because I've been touring many years and just wanted to do something different, comedy is growing. There's a lot of new comedians out there, very blessed to do it at a high level, but now it's like, hey, what can I do different? And so this idea of being posted up in Vegas, having a regular home. You come see me, and I'm having fun. Tony's amazing and fun to work with, so we just having a blast. It's good.
Man, that's amazing.
Yeah,
that's amazing. And you got a couple of movies.
I like to jump in and out of films, man. So there is this movie Posse that would deal with the legendary Mario Van Peebles, MVP. And so yeah, but he loves to do those westerns. It was the first time I got to be in one. He did ask me, did I want to ride a horse, and I was like, nah. I've ridden a horse a couple of times, but it is not a thing that I just wanted to just jump up and do. Like, you know what I mean? So, like, I want to get to know my horses real well before I go up. So, but we shot in Montana, which was amazing and beautiful up there. And then I do a little small part, the legendary Jerry Seinfeld. He's got this funny movie on Netflix called Unfrosted. He did a play on how the Pop-Tart was created. So,
that's right.
So
all the different flavors.
So, it is funny, a movie about cereal. Like, we all kind of eat cereal and don't think about like
where it
the
came
world
from.
Of it.
Behind it.
And then how this Pop-Tart almost ruined the cereal market, like when the Pop-Tart showed up. And so it's pretty cool. And then I'm producing a sitcom for Tracy Morgan. We'll start shooting that in the fall, called Crutch. Tracy is a widowed father, and his adult kids moved back in Harlem.
Wow.
So it's a New York-based show.
Oh, yeah.
He's a version of my character, Calvin Butler, on, curmudgeonous, stuck in, kind of, in his ways, personality. And then these adult kids move back in. His son's a lawyer who decides to do pro bono work.
Right.
The daughter is getting a divorce, but she's coming from Minnesota with mixed children. Her husband is a white guy, and she comes back, and so the kids are a little watered down for Tracy. And so it's him raising his grandkids when he feel like they don't know enough about the real world and all this stuff. And
the struggle.
So,
right.
They want almond milk and, gluten-free bread. And it's like, who are these little kids? We in Harlem, baby. You can't get none of that.
That is good. So I want to ask you about one of the roles you played. You did a movie called Son of the South.
Yeah.
So Spike Lee produced.
Spike Lee produced it.
Right.
I played Ralph Abernathy.
Yeah, that's what's going to,
it tells the story of this young man. He was a son of the South. So basically, his whole family lineage, he was supposed to be this kind of racist personality, and yet he empathized and fought with the freedom fighters and for civil rights. And so that's kind of what the story is about. I was really happy to be able to play and give so much honor to, a civil rights leader who kind of falls in the, the second tier of things because he was so close to Martin Luther King that, you don't get the light. Like,
overshadowed.
He was a super freedom fighter himself.
It's like the top echelon, but a little bit behind the scenes.
He was Scottie Pippen, you know what I mean?
Scottie Pippen.
Scottie Pippen of civil rights.
But he seemed angry.
Not so much later on. Like hopefully my son don't mess with his wife. I mean, with our Lord, too soon. Okay, let's get out of here. Let's get back on the politics.
I love it. But how did you prepare for a role like Abernathy when you're obviously your background is in comedy? That's a serious figure, a historical figure to play.
I had an opportunity to be on Broadway, which was one of these things that I definitely honor so many comedians that learn to be great dramatic actors.
Right.
Richard Pryor was one. The late Robin Williams was another great. Even Tom Hanks did comedy for a while. People don't know that. So it was that kind of respect for the art that I would do. So I would actually, I got books, I read, I listened to audio tapes, I tried to hear his voice, and it was a thing because his family didn't think I should be the one because they wanted this honor, they wanted to have this respect. But once the movie came out and they saw that I, played it with dignity and rocked it, then they was like, all right, cool. But it was one of those kind of things where even Martin Luther King, when people, we kind of see them as the archetype of who they are. We kind of see just that. Yeah. But they were friends. They laughed a lot. They were boys. And I try to look for the humanity in a role, right? So, you look for things that's quirky or a way he would say something that would be kind of humorous and it would make the character a whole character. And so as opposed to like, I'm just, every day I wake up and I put on my church socks and I walk around and I civil rights all day long. I civil right it. You never see me not civil writing.
Civil writing at breakfast.
Yeah, civil writing at breakfast. What are these cereal doing here? Call those Fruit Loops. It's wrong. It's an abomination. They identify as they and them. It's too soon. It's too soon. What's in this tea?
All right, we're not gonna do Club Shay Shay.
No. Listen, we're not doing.
Oh my God!
But you know something? I was actually going back to what he was saying about the acting that he did in that part.
Yeah.
The thing that's always amazing to me is how you actually tease out the humanity of a character and bring it to the forefront and make it less about what people expect it to be, but who they actually really were behind the scenes.
Right.
When you think about it, it is exciting to actually be able to ingest that character as a person and not a caricature. And that sounds like that's exactly what you did with him, because the humanity of the person meant that, like you're talking about civil writing, you think about Martin Luther King, you think about that's all he did. But he was also
He was
a
a
man.
human being.
And he had, you know, they went to the beach, they did other things, but it's
Right.
like you don't really see that. You just see the character that they put up. You know, that people revered.
I've had those challenges a couple of times. Even in the Barbershop, the first movie, you know, it was a lot of controversy about that. Even though I played this older guy, the controversy of the things I said about Martin Luther King, again, they were written. They weren't. I wasn't freestyling. People was like, you know,
this was not
it wouldn't be like trying to get my stuff off, like you know what I'm saying. Like I was like, yo. But I remember that you know, between amongst the producers and everybody, it was big debate on should these things be said, about Rosa Parks, about Martin Luther King in those moments. That was the kind of the point of the character, right? Was to be this person that talked about how deep this situation goes. But, you know, of course, people took it at the face value, and it was big controversy. I was getting all kinds of calls. That was the first time I was really ever in political trouble. I remember, you know, I never really get that, but I got calls from Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton.
Are you serious?
Wow.
Yeah, and I was like, how y'all get this number? So,
First of all,
hey, brother, what's going on? Yes, sir. First of all, how you get this number? But you know, I mean, again, and they all had really strong and valid points. Their thing is that you know these words and these kind of imagery gets thrown into the world, and then it's shown in clips.
Got it.
And so then they'll take that clip and put it around the world and then be misused to people who don't know, like generations later, right? If that's the only information you get, then you'll be like, I don't get to use that. And I was like, well, you know, I think y'all have to take that up with the distributors of the art, you know what I mean? But as a creative, these are things that are always challenging, especially in our community, I feel, as artists. Like we say this about music, you know, any kind of creation. If we try to do something that's outside the norm or pushes the envelope a little bit, there is both the pushback from inside the community and outside of making sure you either holding up what the image is or you're either disintegrating it. You can't just be an artist, right? You can't just be like, oh, I just got something that's creative. I never really thought about it that way. I just had a creative thought. I didn't think I had to support it all the way, right? Which is, you know, kind of limiting, you know, when it comes down to what I say our films always kind of have the same themes. They're going to be a slave movie or it's going to be drug dealers, because these are the things that we kind of accept as on both sides as the imagery, right? But if you try to push that narrative anywhere different, then people, you think about the Huxtables at the time, it was hard to believe that it was a doctor and a lawyer
that
as
were
black
in
family.
the same
and
house.
people was like, that's fake. They ain't believe it for
It's
a
not
long
believable.
time, right?
This is not going to work for television.
Yeah, wow. And he was like, y'all, and you know, and those were things that had to just kind of keep pushing up the hill until, it's just funny. You just a dad.
Right.
Oh, got it. Okay. All right, cool. Once I can get past, I don't believe that.
But they were okay with the Jeffersons.
Yeah, well, you know,
the Jeffersons was even a stretch, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
well,
if
there
you
was
go
at first,
back, that was a leap from
Good Times,
from Good Times,
which was
exactly,
which was widely and readily acceptable. Dad in the projects, always mad.
Always mad.
I get it.
Dynamite.
But definitely, even in any of those, I mean, to your point, bringing this back a little bit, they didn't criticize the narrative or the accepted thing about what Martin Luther King was or what Rosa Parks was or what anybody was. I mean, even to this day,
they were worried about the clips, which I think is actually backwards, because it should be that our community should be able to express themselves without the feeling that you're carrying the weight of the world every time you speak.
Exactly.
And I think we get caught up in things that we shouldn't be, because everybody else gets an opportunity to say what they want.
Yeah, and we're not a monolith, but I mean, as kind of as a group, you got to have that group think. You got to have like everybody kind of go along with it in order to find success in it, or be a straight outlier that pulls everybody over. Right, one of the two, and those are very hard things to be when you want acceptance, or you're trying to hit a number, or you taking somebody else's money and saying, hey, I got this big idea, give me $50 million. But if it misses, then I know that was the only time I'm ever going to get to make a film.
Right.
That's especially with our directors, and creators. That's kind of changed in the last few years. I mean, but really, you used to think about it was like John Singleton and Spike Lee. Right. Those were the guys that got the movies. And then you had all these other creative people that were like kind of relegated to doing videos, or smaller projects.
Antonio Fuqua.
And then Fuqua comes on, and then, Ava DuVernay. Now you got like people that are really strong, like then they do creative things, like, that are, outside the box. Antoine definitely made himself, a stronger action, movie director than most. He's probably one of the top at this point, like anything you see from him, it's going to be quality.
Do you think that the fact that there are now so many different platforms that people have access to, so it's not just a theatrical release or television? You can go from shorts to your own channels, or all of that,
YouTube channel if you want to.
You have your own YouTube channel, right?
No, I think that definitely. I mean, all of the platforms definitely helped, and I mean, the greater they got, the stronger they got, the more competitive it made the rest of the industry have to stand up. So, Netflix definitely was one that come along and pushed the envelope, and then Amazon showed up. And so now you're right, and they all have to provide content, so it gives a lot more opportunity. I mean, even now when we're looking for writers and people to be on our show, a lot of the top people they're booked already. Yeah. So now you have to kind of make sure that we have a great incubation system to prepare people to just kind of keep rising and going, which was also, systemically wrong in our industry, because we just didn't have a lot of. If you're a black writer or a director and it's not a black show, you're not really getting a job. Like, it's very rare. So early on in our career, all the hair and makeup people, we would have to fight for people that knew how to do our skin color, and because they weren't in the union. And they were like, your barber's going to have to cut your hair in your room and not really get union fees because he's not in the union because he doesn't do enough TV shows. And so we had to learn and create ways to fight against that through advocacy. Man, where were you guys then? Damn lobbyists. No, so no.
We are available.
No, but again, those were the kind of things that you had to, kind of really, squeeze and make room for, because once these things started happening, like guys, they would want you to accept like somebody to do your hair or do your makeup that you weren't comfortable with, because you had to do it on the union scale or be a union member. And so those are things that weren't a part of the business that probably just changed in the last 15, 20 years. It's crazy. Yeah. As long as we've been doing this.
When I think about Hollywood and I think about Black Hollywood, and you think about a comedian making the transition from doing comedy, stand-up and stuff like that, to being in movies, to being in TV, and everything around that, investor, businessman, you'll get into all that later. Yep. But I was always impressed because he always was on the pulse and was always growing as an actor, as a star, as within the industry, and was always bringing people up. I look at him as the Godfather. Now, he's not old enough to be the Godfather, but like the Godfather, when you think about the people around and helping people 100%. Achieve what they need and having a standard of excellence, within the industry. So I'm giving you your flowers early. I saw that early on and was always impressed by it.
Thank you, man.
I love it.
I appreciate that. Thank you, brother.
You're doing it in entertainment.
Yeah.
And now the segue that you set up, you're starting to do it in business.
Yeah.
Talk about that a little bit, because you guys, I think, came into each other's, or mostly through your business connection, which is interesting. But talk about what you're doing and how you're focusing on like these other, you call them extracurricular activities, but you probably know that down the line, these are going to be the things that you do for the most part, right? Yeah.
No, I mean, it's really great. Of course, entertainment leads you to meet so many wonderful people and different people for different reasons. But I got into buying old school cars right during the pandemic. Everybody, we figured out how to get outside, so everybody would have these old school cars, and we'd just be out riding around and stuff. So another business partner, Alan Warren, and I, we doing some real estate stuff. He's a big real estate developer.
Yeah. Former city council member in Sacramento, so politics and exactly. It's all there.
Is a dear friend of mine.
Great guy. And so in this small town where I grew up, so I wrote a book too. So I got a novel, my first novel I wrote this out. Flipping Boxcars, guys. Go get that Flipping Boxcars. But
you're going to get some promo on there for that.
Yes. Really, it was a story of my grandfather, who I never knew. But in this small town, my grandmother had bought some land. And my grandfather was a gambler. He was a very successful gambler, businessman. They owned restaurants and clubs and a little small hotel. In the world of poker, where we know poker players now, but they did dice back then.
Right.
But he was famous. Like, he was famous in the area. He ended up messing up, and my grandmother had bought this land, and he lost the land. That was the story of our family. So I wanted to buy some land and redo something down there. So I had these big ideas, and Alan went in and partnered with me. And so we're going to create this whole little cool space down there. So I went and bought some property. And so that was our first foray, me and Alan. And then he introduced me to Neville, when he saw I was all into the cars. And he was like, do you know about these digital plates? And I was like, what digital plates? And so ended up speaking to Neville, who's just been, fantastic, again, really creative. You recognize, like, man, this is such a unique space of being able to communicate with people with your license plates, of course, and then cars is what everybody loves.
Yep.
And then to be able to think about how we can do this in many ways to kind of help people not have that DMV experience.
Right.
Not saying that we don't all love going to the DMV. We love it, man. But that's one of the early things. I got AC Barbecue with my partner, Anthony Anderson, the great actor, comedian, and partner of mine. So we started AC Barbecue, and matter of fact, we're on Amazon today, guys. Go to the landing page, Amazon. So all our rubs and sauces, but we're in Lowe's, Walmart, and that's growing, and we're actually going to open up our restaurants. We have one on the University of Jackson State.
Oh, nice.
Jackson State there. Right. And then we're going to open up our flagship one at the Century City Plaza here in Los Angeles, the Westfield Mall up there at the top of the food court. So right behind Shake Shack, be an AC Barbecue spot, and it's fast casual, liken it to Chick-fil-A, that kind of energy, right? But we having a good time, man. We making up food, we traveling around the world, and then I have my wine in honor of my mother, who passed in 2015. She was a school teacher, 30 plus years. Never really drank, but every now and then she would have a glass of wine. So we thought this was a great way to honor my sister and I. She would always feel so classy when she had a little glass. So she'd be like toasted glass with a touch of class. And so we put that on the bottle, So we just thought we got a big kick out of that. But Zeta, her name was Rosetta. So Zeta's the name of the wine. And so we have premium Napa Valley wine. It's a red blend, but beautiful, really great wine. And then we did 2 California grape wines so that it can be a little more affordable to people.
Right.
So, but also a red blend and then a white Sauvignon Blanc. And we do those online at smithdevereaux.com. Nice. We're in Total Wines in Georgia only in Georgia, the state of Georgia.
And I could say without a doubt that wine is fantastic.
Right.
I literally didn't know that it was his wine. We were at an event, I think, Phil Oates' golf tournament, and that was the wine that was served. And everybody was just like raving about it.
Yeah.
So
we know Neville to be a little junior sommelier over here.
Well, this is
Have you ever been to a restaurant with him?
No.
You ever seen him order wine?
Oh, no, he's that guy with the book.
He's the guy. No. He's the guy that asked.
I don't see the Rothschild.
He asks for the guy, and then he has a conversation with the guy, and then that's a 15-minute whole thing.
Oh yeah, so you sitting there thirsty.
It's all good.
You like that? You can give me water again. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, I like that.
But
That's
I mean,
good,
I gotta give love, man, because everybody was asking about the wine, and then I had a meeting with Cedric. I want to say a couple days later, and then I see behind him, there's the bottle. That was a wine from the event, and he was like, "Well, that's my wine," and I was like, "I got to get some of that."
Yeah,
but it's fantastic. It's well done.
Yeah,
well done.
yeah.
Some of the proceeds of that go into literacy programs in honor of your mom, who was a teacher, right?
Yes.
I love
that.
Yeah,
it made a lot of sense. You know, one, the winemakers, they really love to do kind of charitable givebacks as a part of their programs, and it made so much sense that my sister is actually a professor at Pepperdine, so she took the educational baton and kept running with it. So I barely got out of college. God bless, but I did. I made it. Kids go to school. But my mother just loved reading and teaching people to read, and I mean, adults, kids. If she saw you struggling in any kind of way, she'd come here for a second, sit down.
Nice.
What do you see there? Look at those words. You be like, Mama, could you let that man order? Everybody can't say bolognese.
Hey, there's some high standards in the Cow's household.
The man is stuck trying to order an A2 He's never been to New Orleans. That man don't know what just let him order.
So your mom will be proud that you've come full circle, because you went from your button-down State Farm claims adjuster job, and she thought you were on your way, man, as a going into business and using your degree, and you were like, took a little detour, but
that's it.
Full circle, man.
You think about it, because generationally, she's from a space where, and again, we come from a small town, and then we moved to St. Louis, and she's a single parent. She was doing her thing, and so when I graduated and was working, had a corporate job, that was one of those things where you like, look, my son, he's doing it, But I come in one day and I was like, Mama, it's not it for me. I can't.
Right.
I can't go to work every day. I can't do it.
I like
what do you mean not like that?
Like, classic car.
Yeah. I'm horrible too. Like I'm like I probably still got claims. There's somebody in a rental. I bet there's somebody in a rental car right now from me. Like just never bothered. I took a leave of absence. I never quit. That's one thing. So so if all this goes wrong,
you got
I'm just gonna show back up and State Farm one day. My man, get up. This is my desk right here. Cedric the Entertainer? No, Cedric the Claims Adjuster. Stand up. Thank you, man. I'm taking back over. But no, I remember I came in and told her that, and it was one of those things that she didn't get it. And of course, we think about that, generationally. But I kind of knew that when I was younger. Like, I think, Fame was out, the show Fame.
Right.
And I could do it all.
The TV show, not the movie.
The TV show, right.
Yeah.
But when I was younger, and of course, this is kind of the thing, I was talking about, I had the freedom to know that I could do all these things.
Right.
So like 14, 15, I could dance, I could sing, I was funny, I could do all those things. And of course, my mother didn't, as a school teacher, didn't really understand that. So just pushed me toward traditional education. Right. And I feel like, man, if I'd done all those things, I would be even more of a threat if I literally would have been able to just like dive into things that I knew how to do. But we got through it. I was a young adult, and I switched. And I remember, and when she finally got it, and I can't remember the joke. I always tell this story, but I remember I came in, and she was like, "Now what is this?" And I was like, "I'm a comedian." And I told her a joke I had written, and this is one of my greatest memories. Though, is that we're in the house that I grew up in, and I told her this joke. And she laughed so hard, she went down to the ground. Yeah. She was on her knees, and she was laughing. I was like, yes.
That's what I'm doing.
She was like, boy. And she was laughing so hard. And I remember I used to have to be clean, too, because she didn't want me to curse. That was her thing. So even to this day, it's interesting because it's kind of branded that way. Like most people believe I don't curse at all.
Right.
And I was like, that's interesting because, I don't have to when I'm on stage, but I do.
Yeah.
But, it's a perception that you don't, right? For the most part, I would not curse on stage. I would just learn to do it. But then as you know, the more you get away from home, the more
fits.
them MF start crying.
I don't think it's been said on 13th and Park yet, but anything you have to say, you have permission.
That's
there
classic,
you go.
right? They'll be like, man, Sid turned that show to a whole other thing.
Well, I might give you an opportunity because we got just a couple minutes left, but I do got to get your thoughts on the state of politics in America.
I mean, the biggest thing I notice about the state of politics in America right now, and I kind of feel is that, we have been really put in a wild situation to be the greatest country in the world, to have us decide between these two parties. And this party politics is where you see it become so polarizing, because now that we're taught to believe we got choice A or choice B.
Right.
And that's the most un-American thing that is happening with all of this. None of us are really one or the other all the time.
Right.
Super conservative or super liberal. You may have liberal thoughts on certain things, and then there's other things that, I want the respect of people having manners and great behavior and these kind of things. And at the same time,
so you need to have accountability.
Just wilding out. And at the same time, I don't care about your sexual preferences and choices, and you can be who you are as a human being. And I agree with all that. And you do want the economy to be both thriving and working for people who are successful and putting in the hard work. You want to win on that side.
Right.
You doing the work, you want to win. And you also want to take care of people who really can't handle it. That is our job most of the time as human beings. I mean, if you got it in your family, you know it's in the world. So you can't sit around because you got a nice house that you don't expect people out there hungry, man. What are you going to do? Help them. What's the problem?
Right.
And then why is it so one way or the other? Then if you want to help them, then you're this kind of person.
Right.
If you don't want to help them, you're this kind of person.
Right.
And I feel like that's the most un-American thing. That's basically this new super party line politics that has got everybody on.
Cedric, thank you so much, man. This has been so much fun. I think you've definitely changed the game on 13th and Park.
13th and Park is thrilled to welcome a second home to our family, the state of California, with the opening of our new studio in Hollywood, where we'll continue to share the biggest stories of the day and those behind them. Subscribe today for free to 13th and Park's YouTube channel, so you never miss another episode.